What up now? What up now? What up now? Everybody in the place to be. We here back with another episode of Let's Play 2. It's a Cubs podcast, but guess who I got? The one and only King Mac with me today. You know what I mean? He is a South Sider, as I am, but I do root for the North Side guys, right? But he is a South Sider and he stays true to the South Side. He is a White Sox fan. Shout out to King Mac. What's up, bro?
How you doing, man? I appreciate you having me on the show. And I'm getting killed right now by the likes of Jay Targaryen and Asinine. They can't believe I'm on a Cubs podcast. And this is different though. I'm used to hearing you talk football, so I'm excited to get into a baseball discussion with you, man. I can't lie. This is a thrill for me.
It is, man. I'm happy to be here, man. It's been a long time coming. You know, I've been talking about this type of thing for a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, I know they don't have the patience to deal with us being Cubs fans and even coming on and things like that. But I appreciate you stopping through, man. I know you're a White Sox fan, but baseball is baseball at the end of the day. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? And one thing I will say about you is that hey, anytime you get to talk baseball with somebody, it's always a good thing. You know what I mean? It's always good. And to have some knowledge, about the game, you've been around it for years, man. You grow up around it. You played the sport. You did a lot of things with it. You coached kids. You know how to identify talent. And I take that. You know what I mean? I appreciate that, man. So I know you put me on to a lot of knowledge when it comes to the game of baseball, and it's just something. You know what I mean? I just want to touch base with you on some of the things when it comes to hitting. You know what I mean? Of
Okay.
course, we're going to talk a little bit about the Cubs. I want to get into that right quick first. And I know you've seen the slump that the Cubs have been under, right?
Yes.
What you think about it?
Well, I think they pressing. You know what I mean? I think they getting a little tight. And then when you get a little tight or you start pressing, you start doing things that you normally don't do. You start swinging at pitches you normally wouldn't swing at. You start becoming less patient. You start to feel like, in certain situations, instead of let me move a guy over, the guy behind me can get the job done. No, I need to get the job done myself. And that kind of hurts you as a hitter. You know what I mean? That kind of puts you in situations that you don't want to be in because now, instead of you being in a 1-0 count, 2-0 count, maybe a 2-1 count, you start being in 0-1 counts, you start being in 0-2 counts or 1-2 counts. And it makes it much more difficult for you because now you have to cover kind of a wider zone. And now you can't, be as selective as you could be when you have when you have a count that's in your favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like I've been looking at this team, and we was going through so many ups and downs through the season. Really, we had, for the most part, for the beginning of the season, the first part of the season, all the way through to the All-Star break, it was just nothing but it was peaches and cream, man. It was peaches and cream. You know, I put a tweet out a couple weeks ago, man, and it was talking about PCA, right?
Hmm.
PCA has been in the slump since the All Star break, pretty much, right? Now he's
Hmm.
got a couple of hits here recently and things like that, but for the most part, it's been a struggle for him, after the All Star break. I said that, you look at something like PCA and he's so aggressive at the plate, he swings at everything. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? He's swinging at everything. He's going for this, he's going for that, and he can get to a lot of stuff. I give him credit for that. I like that. But the slumps will be hard to deal with because you're so aggressive. He got to either tone that down next year, or you know what I mean. That's the maturation of a hitter, I would say. You know what I mean. You got to work on different points in your game. What you think?
Well, I would say with PCA, I wouldn't want to tone down his aggressiveness. What I would want PCA to become is more selective. So be aggressive, but be selective about, the pitches and the counts you choose to be aggressive in. You know what I mean? So with PCA, he's never been a guy that was really patient. He never been a guy that really took a lot of walks. That's just not him as a player. So what you want him to do is to identify the pitches that he does well with, whether it be a curve, slider, fastball, whatever the case may be, where, his hot zones is, so on and so on. That's what you want with PCA, but you don't want to cut down on his aggressiveness because that's who he is as a player. I mean, that's who he is as a defender. That's who he is as a hitter. His speed allow him to be aggressive on the base pass, so you don't want to take any of his aggression away from him. You just want him to be like more selective as far as what he chooses to swing at. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. I feel you on that. So, when we talking about being patient and selective, I'm just, I just want to ask a couple of questions when it comes to being patient and selective, right? You can be, it's a difference between being too patient and being selective. You're saying being selective in choosing balls that you do well at, right?
Yeah,
Identifying those balls.
yeah.
And that's my thing. I don't know if he's able to do that yet. You know what I mean? I've seen some players go up there, and Saya was one of them the other day. I was looking at the game. What was it yesterday? And it was like he was guessing at the pitch that was coming. You know what I mean? Is it going to be a slider? Is it going to be a fastball? To me, how do you become more selective and be able to see that? Is that just how can he work on that? Is my question. Because you see some players that never get more selective.
I mean, some players is not in it. I mean, I give you a prime example. Luis Robert on the White Sox is one of those guys that he's never really been patient or selective like that. He just does well at hitting. When he gets his pitches to hit, he does well at hitting them hard. So I don't know if PCA could become that guy, and I don't know. I'm not gonna say that's something you can't work on, but normally that's already in a player as far as them being patient and selective hitters. You know what I mean? Sometimes in baseball, guys are what they are, and you got to kind of live with that. But with PCA, who has the potential to be a star, that's what's gonna determine whether he's a star or he's an average player or not. Is whether he can, some kind of way become a patient hitter at the plate, whether he can become more selective in what he decides to swing at and what he decides, not to swing at. I think it was Dante Bichette who said, when you get a 1-0 count or a 2-0 count, you earn the right to be aggressive. You earn the right to try to hit the ball over the fence. When you when you're in a 0-1 count or 0-2 count, you lost that right. Now it's about just making solid contact with the baseball. You know what I mean? So I think if he can become a guy that's selective, y'all got a star on y'all hand. If he doesn't, then you got an average player who's a good defender.
Dang. That's what's up. Being selective, I think it goes a long way because it really will dictate what a pitcher will be able to throw to you, right? Like a pitcher will pitch around a guy who's not selective, in my opinion, right? So I know that this guy is going to swing it pretty much whatever I throw up there. So I don't have to go into the strike zone at all, really. And see, that's what I don't want to happen with PCA. I don't want pitchers to get into the mode where, hey, I can go up there and throw him pretty much. I can throw junk up there and he's going to swing. You know what I mean? And that's what you don't want to have happen. You know what I mean? Man, they talking crazy about you, man. You see this stuff?
Yeah, I seen Nine talking about it means war or whatever.
he says, look at Jay Targaryen down there says, congratulations.
I appreciate you, Jay. One of BGR finalists, by the way.
Man, it's BGR, man. We love y'all guys, man, for sure. You know what I mean? And hey, it's a nice rivalry that we have going on and things like that. I just want to play something real quick though for you, Mac. I just want to play something real quick. Give me one moment here. Let me see if I can pull this up right quick. It's a little something that I had. I can't believe I was able to pull this up. Matter of fact, let me see. It's gonna take me a minute to get it up. Hold on one second. But yeah, they talking crazy down there. It is what it is with these guys. At the end of the day, let's talk about understanding that strike zone, though, right? So when you're talking about understanding the strike zone, what do you mean by that? What does that mean for you?
Well, we know that umpires right in general, their strike zone could be different.
Mm-hmm.
So as a hitter, it's incumbent upon you to understand what the strike zone is, understand where you do damage within that zone, and understanding that it's okay for you to take a walk, or it's okay for you, not to just swing at anything. You know what I mean? Like, if you know that the umpire is not giving a pitcher the inside, then it's okay to let that go. It's okay not to swing at pitches that you want to pull on the inside. It's okay for you to let those pass. If a ump is giving a pitcher the outside, it's okay for you to move up in the box. It's okay for you to, kind of quote unquote crowd the plate so you can, kind of take that away. So as a hitter, if you understand the strike zone, it kind of puts you at an advantage, just like a pitcher understanding the strike zone can help him and put him at an advantage. So when I say understanding the strike zone, it's understanding the what he's doing as far as what he's calling that game.
Okay. So that's also indicative of players having to be locked in during the game, right? So you got to be paying attention to what he's calling against other batters.
Yeah.
Like, how big is his strike zone out there today?
Yeah.
What are pitchers getting away with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And normally, if a pitcher is getting away with something, he's gonna continue to go back to that because, oh, hey, I see this ump right now. He kind of, I can get away with this one. I can throw this one out here, and he might call it. You know what I mean? A strike when it's actually a ball. And they'll continue to go back to that, so you can kind of prepare yourself, and as a hitter, and be like, okay, that's what I'm looking for because I know he might go to it at this point in time.
Exactly. If you have an ump, for example, he's giving an inch off the plate, why wouldn't you move up in his batter's box, or why wouldn't you move closer to the plate, I should say, in a batter's box to help you with what the ump is doing? That's a part of understanding the strike zone. If you can help yourself to eliminate certain things or certain issues, then that helps you become a better hitter. You know what I mean? That's just like if you know a guy he's getting over breaking balls very well. That's his predominant pitch, or that's what he loves to throw, especially in that game. Why wouldn't you move up to help take that away, or help make it easier for you to get to that ball a little sooner or whatever, before it breaks? I don't understand why hitters don't understand certain situations or make themselves better by doing certain things they can, help themselves with as far as in the batter's box.
That's what's up. I mean, that's the thing that's what you see from a lot of hitters in today's game. Guys that can move around in that batter's box. I remember you used to talk about Tim Anderson used to do that, and I never paid attention to it until you started saying that. And then when you said it, I was like, oh dang, he does do that. Now this is of course when Tim Anderson was actually playing well. You know what I mean? But
when he was playing well, he would sometimes actually adjust from pitch to pitch. You know what I mean? You would see him move. And one of the greatest hitters to ever do it, Pete Rose, he moved around in the batter's box a lot. You know what I mean? So if you understand the strike zone as a hitter, that makes you a better hitter because you know what to lay off of, you know what to swing at. You know what pitches you can do damage with in the zone. You know what you're good at. You know what you're trying to accomplish as far as being a hitter. That helps you a lot when you go in the batter's box with a plan. You know what I mean? As a purpose of just you're there. You know what I mean? You can swing it at anything. Whatever the pitcher throws up there, you're trying to swing at. You know what I mean? Which doesn't help you at all, especially against a smart pitcher. You just putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, that's what you see people doing all the time, though. Especially in today's baseball, in today's league or whatever. When it comes to the Cubs, right? When it comes to the Cubs hitters, number one, I want to get your take on who do you think is the best hitter on the Cubs. And then I also want to get your take of how Craig Counsell is doing his lineup every day. Like would you change anything? Would you tweak it a little bit here and there? Because there's some things that I feel like I would do, but that I don't like that he does sometimes. I'm not saying he's bad because I like Craig Counsell and he's done pretty good with some of the things, but I think there's two issues that I have with him. I think he pulls pitchers too early sometimes. He doesn't, he goes to the bullpen a little bit early in certain games. I don't know why. And then the other thing is I would tweak a little bit of things with the lineup and how you from 1 through 7, I would change some things around. What do you think about it?
Well, I'll say one. I think the best hitter on the Cubs is still Cal Tucker, because in baseball you have to go with, like they say, what's on the back of the baseball card. You know what I mean? And he's the most proven hitter on the team. You know what I mean? Now, the slump he's been in and the year he's having, of course, is not good. Sometimes guys can handle going into free agency and, playing for money. Sometimes guys can't handle that, so he may be adding more pressure on himself than he needs to. But I still think Cal Tucker is the best hitter on that team. As far as Craig Counsell, I don't agree with some of the things he do as far as like resting hot hitters, taking hot hitters out of the lineup. I don't agree with sometimes when he sits Matt Shaw or how he uses Matt Shaw. I don't agree with sometimes how he moves guys down in the lineup that may be slumping. I think as a manager, what you need to do when your team is pressing or when your team is struggling is make things easier for them to score runs. So if a guy gets a leadoff double, for example, some people will hate this, especially analytical guys, but I'm more of a situational baseball guy because that's the game of baseball is a situational game. If you get a guy who hits the leadoff double, why don't you bunt that guy over the third to make it easier for your guys to drive that guy in? You know what I mean? So it's simple things he can do like that to kind of help his team score easier runs. You know what I mean? To make it easy on them as far as in the batter box where they won't be pressing as much or they won't be trying to, think they got to hit a fucking solo home run or whatever, hit a 2-run home run. Make it easy for these guys. It's simple. Hey, get the guy on, move him over. That's what we need to be thinking about. We don't need to be thinking about, oh, I got to go over here and try to hit a home run. No, I need you to go up here and hit the ball hard somewhere. I don't need you to be thinking about getting it over the fence. You know what I mean? And to me, that's the type of managing he needs to be doing when his team is struggling.
Yeah, for sure. What I look at when I look at Craig Counsell, what I see from him is like, okay, Michael Bush, for instance, right? It's been an ongoing thing where he sits Michael Bush sometimes against left-handed pitching. And I'm of the mind frame that Michael Bush is a good enough hitter that he should be out there playing. He should be hitting every day. He should be playing every day if he's healthy. He should be playing. There should be no reason why you just bench him. You know what I mean? And put him down against left-handed pitching. And I was listening to Cliff Lee. Cliff Lee said the same thing. He's like, Michael Bush should have been playing daily all year long. You know what I'm saying? Now, to me, it doesn't even make sense. And I was talking to Jay actually about this in the Spaces yesterday. It don't make sense that you would have Michael Bush batting leadoff pretty much all the time now. But then you turn around and you sit him against left-handed pitching. You're saying he's one of your best hitters if you want him batting leadoff, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're saying he's definitely one of your best hitters. Sometimes, managers try to be too smart, where they try to play, righties versus lefties and lefties versus righties. Sometimes they can get too smart with that, and they can overdo it. I agree, though. Michael Bush should be in the lineup pretty much every day. He's one of your best hitters on the team, so exactly. He definitely should be in the lineup every day.
He should be. Man, I found what I was looking for, bro. I just need you to listen to this real quick because it was funny. It was something that I thought was hilarious. And it's funny because Jay Targaryen, he been in the comments talking crazy, talking about, just some of the stuff that he's saying. You see it down there. You see, congratulations, gentlemen. calling, you know, and we bringing you up, and you know, here come Asinine, you talking about you a turncoat just because you came on to talk baseball, man. It's not like you're rooting for the Cubs, you feel me? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. But I want to get your take on what Jay Targaryen had to say yesterday. I'm gonna play this little clip for you right quick. Take a listen. We're just talking about four favorite Cubs. Okay, go ahead.
Last night at the Javier Baez, Derek Lee, Ramis Ramirez, and Sammy Sosa.
Wow, that's a good list. That's a good list. Now, the funny thing about this conversation, though, Mac, right? I didn't bring up the Mount Rushmore of Cubs players.
He did.
He brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
So here he is in the spaces talking about now you wasn't in there, of course, and there was a lot of people that wasn't in there, but he's talking about his favorite Cubs players. And then the very next day, he talking about bringing you up on charges.
Well, first of all, you know, Jay is a knowledgeable baseball guy. He's like a walking human encyclopedia when it comes to baseball. But
yeah, that ain't no joke. That's for real.
You know, I love the game of baseball in general, and I love my White Sox, of course. I was born and raised in Inglewood, South Side, so White Sox are my favorite team. They mean a lot to me. That honestly, I live and breathe the White Sox. It is what it is. But I also can be truthful about my team, and I also can talk about other players on other teams and be truthful about them, even if it is the Cubs. But having a Mount Rushmore of Cubs players is wild. You know what I mean? It's wild, but he is a bisexual guy, so he got two favorite teams and all that. So that's to be expected from a guy of his nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. We understand. We understand where it's coming from. I thought it was funny though, man. I had to get that on tape. I got it on tape. He knew I was taping it too. I think he probably did. I don't know, but he went along with it, I guess, for the ride. That's what's up.
I'm glad you got that on tape, though.
Yeah, you know, and I'm gonna post it on Twitter from time to time. You know what I mean? I'm gonna use that against him from time to time. I'm gonna edit it where I can because he did say he hated the list, but I'm gonna edit that out. You know what I mean? Just say, change some words of it. You know what I mean? A little bit. You know,
he deserves it. Yeah. He deserves it, man.
AI, you can do a lot of things with AI. I'm gonna put his, make it look like he talking. You know what I mean? A video, everything. It's gonna be live.
Yeah,
it's gonna be live.
That's correct.
But yeah. Another question that I had though, Mac. Let me see. I want to get to a couple of things. We was talking about understanding the strike zone, but I want to talk about a little bit about understanding the situation, right? So you mentioned this a little bit with understanding the strike zone, or actually when I asked you about Craig Counsell and what he's doing with the Cubs. Situational baseball is different than just going up there and hitting the ball. You know what I mean? You got to understand what's going on, what part of the game you're in, what inning you're in, what's the pitch count at. You know what I mean? Like because I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I like is to see a good battle between a pitcher and a batter that's fouling pitches off, because he ain't doing nothing but running that pitch count up. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes those can be good at bats. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think, and plus, the more pitches a hitter see, the more dangerous he becomes. That's an old saying. So, I agree with that. And I was just listening to a story about Greg Maddux where he was talking about, they wanted to take him out of a game. And it was Chipper Jones telling the story, and he knew that what the hitter was looking for. So he knew, like, okay, I'm gonna throw this guy this because he's looking for this, and I'm gonna get a weak pop out to third base, and it kept the guy from moving the run over, whatever, and it saved the Braves from the team scoring the run against the Braves. So to me, like in baseball, you have to understand when you get a guy on base, it's about advancing that guy. It's about getting him to the next base. Now, of course, the best thing is to drive him in. That's the best outcome you can have is to drive him in, you get an RBI, so on and so on. But the next best thing is to get him, advance him to the next base. And I think, unfortunately, in baseball, we have a lot of players that are situationally dumb. They get up there with a guy on second base, no outs, and they're not even trying to move him over to third. They're not even trying to, hit it to the opposite field or hit it to right field to get the guy over the third. They're trying to do all the work themselves, which is not good for the game, and that's why you see so many strikeouts with guys in scoring position, or you see guys not getting easy RBIs when it's a guy on third base. You see guys not taking what's given to them because they're trying to do absolutely too much. So to me, one of the things about being a high IQ baseball player is understanding what situation you're in. As far as being a hitter, a runner, or even a defender, you need to understand the situation that's at hand when you're playing the game of baseball.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm gonna, I'm not picking on PCA. I'm not picking on him, right? Because I like his game. I like what he brings to the table. I like the passion that he has. But I was watching the game the other day, and it just was like, all right, so he goes up, you got a man on third base. He goes up there, I think it's 1 out. He goes up, he hits the ball, it's a pop fly. He goes into right field deep. You know what I mean? He wanted to get all of it. I guess he wanted that home run. And he kind of, when he popped it up, he was like, dang, he threw the bat down. He's been doing that a lot lately, of course, right? And I was just like, the man's about to tag from third and he about to score. We get a run. It doesn't affect your average. Chill. You know what I mean? Like, the situation is you just got an RBI.
You got the job done.
Yeah, you got the job done. So sometimes you got to take what you're given, and then that's it. You know what I mean? You can't maximize everything in baseball because baseball is a hard sport, man. It's hard to play.
Well, I mean, first of all, his teammates should have been happy. His teammates should have told him he done a great job. Mm-hmm. And he should have been happy. Back in the day, man, you moved the guy over to third base, they was high-fiving you. Right. What I mean? This is MLB baseball. So if you got a ribby, you drove a guy in on the sac fly, you did your damn job. And I think, like I say, that's where the game of baseball is failing. It's failing fundamentally now, especially to me at the major league level, because you don't have guys who understand situations. And you also have defense now in the MLB is kind of going down somewhat, especially at the catcher position and some of the other positions. So it's like, man, they need to start teaching these guys fundamental baseball as far as understanding the game, man. And I love the game of baseball because it's basically like the game of chess almost. You know what I mean? It's about advancing and holding and, you know what I mean, covering your ground and protecting the middle of the field and so on and so on. So I think people or baseball players in general is losing that,
Yeah. They're losing that type of thing for it. You know what I mean? It's a love for the game. You got to love all parts of the game, in my opinion, not just hitting the long ball. You know what I'm saying? The long ball is great. You know what I mean? It's nice to hit bombs, but you got to love all parts of the game, especially to be a really good player. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, there are some anomalies like a Kyle Schwarber who's just, he gonna mash. You know what I mean? He's trying to hit the home run, and he's carved out a niche doing that. But the thing with Kyle Schwarber is that he still makes people pitch to him. He still pitches that he can hit. You see what I'm saying? So he's still selective. He's, you know what I mean? Even though he strikes out at a high, you know what I mean? And in my opinion, he strikes out a lot, and his average is not that high because he's swinging for the fences every time. But he's still selective, and he gets what he wants up there.
Yeah, he gets on OBS. I mean, he gets on base, and he slugs, which makes him have a very decent OPS. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I mean, that's where baseball is going ultimately. I mean, right now, baseball is all about the slugging. If you can slug, you're gonna be in the MLB. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Like, You can sell out for power right now. You can strike out 160 times, and that's acceptable. You can strike out 200 times, and depending on how much you slug, that's acceptable. That's just the way the game is going because uh, the executives in baseball figured out that to them the best way or the most efficient way to score runs is the home run. Is the slug. You know what I mean? So the only thing they got to think about is what happens when you go in a slump. How then can you score runs? How then can you make it easier for your teams to score run when they're not slugging? They leaving that out a little bit, but right now, I mean, slug is everything. That's why I make the argument with the Chase Mydroff and Costa Montgomery and Matt Shaw and all them. I make that argument. People think that I love that type of player now. It's not that I love a slugging type of player. I love an all-around hitter like Frank Thomas or Ken Griffey, so on and so on. But what I'm saying in baseball now, Chase Mydroff is becoming less and less valuable because he can't slug. Whereas a guy like Costa Montgomery, his production is going to be way more than a Chase Mydroff because he can slug. This guy hit fucking 14 or whatever, however many home runs it is right now in a short amount of time. So his production has already surpassed what Chase Mydroff has done and way more. And Chase Mydroff has played way more games. So that's just where the game is headed. And me as a baseball fan, no matter what my brand of baseball is or the brand of baseball I like, I can see where the game is going and I can be like, okay, well, if my team want to win in this era, this is what they need. Not what I want, but this is what my team needs in order to win.
See, I like the way you put that. I like the way you put that because it's a time where you have to make adjustments, right? So it ain't necessarily what you like, you know what I'm saying? But it is, okay, if we in this era, this is the era that we play baseball in, this is what we need in order to succeed. You know what I mean? And that's real, man. That's real talk right there. That's it ain't no sugarcoating it to be had on that situation. Guys got to get with the times, man.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to. People have to understand. I liken how White Sox Twitter likes Chase Mydroff. I'm a Bears fan, right? I do the Three Kings of the Midway podcast and other Bears podcasts and things like that. And I talk football. That's my I appreciate it. That's my favorite sport. And when it comes to Bears Twitter, right? You get a lot of people on there they like the mediocrity. They love mediocre players for some reason. And then they get behind these mediocre players and they get in the argument. So it's like, dog, he's a mediocre player. We all know this. We see it. It ain't no hiding it. You know what I'm saying? Like people was upset when several different players have left the Bears organization. I think it was a linebacker one time. I forgot his name.
Sanborn.
Jack Sanborn, yeah, mediocre, bro. He's never going to be a Pro Bowler, never going to be a leader of a defense. He's just a mediocre player. He's decent. He in some areas, he make a couple plays, but for the most part, he's not going to be what you need to win. That's Chase Mydroff. He's just a mediocre player. What I mean? But you got average White Sox fans that love him.
He's average to below. I think what it is, honestly, is a lot of times, majority of the people is average. You know what I mean? Hell, shit. I'm average, but majority of the people is average. So they can identify with an average person more than they can identify with greatness. Because, most people are not great, just to keep it real. So they can see themselves in the Chase Mydroff. Like, yeah, you know what? I could probably be him. Like, I could see myself in him. I could probably be him. So they root for that type of guy. But I'm going to be honest, as a White Sox fan, I'm tired of mediocrity. I'm tired of cheering for the underdog. I'm tired of hoping this guy can make it. Maybe this guy can do this. Oh, look at him. He's a little sparky player. If I was a fucking player, I would hate to be a spark plug guy. What the fuck does that even mean? That just means I'm a guy that occasionally maybe can get the fucking job done, but I'm nothing special. Like I would hate that the type of titles to be thrown at me. You know what I mean? Like
I don't want to be that.
I don't understand that. You know what I mean? So to me, yes, I'm not a fan of Chase Mydroff because he's average. I'm not. He's not doing anything special. He don't have power. People think he's such a great defender. His OAA has been going down, since the beginning of the season or whatever. And he don't have a strong arm. Don't really have speed. The only thing he can do is he understand the fucking strike zone. Boo-hoo. But who the fuck cares when you can't hit the ball with any authority and the pitchers are eventually just going to challenge you because they know you're not a real threat.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I, as a White Sox fan, I'm like, oh, he's the core guy. Why would I want that guy to be a core guy on my team? Why?
No. He's a utility guy.
Yeah.
He's a utility guy, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
He
can go out there and he can play a couple different positions. You know what I mean? You might be able to slide him in at second or shortstop or whatever. Let him play a couple different positions when somebody's hurt or somebody goes down to the IL. And that's pretty much it.
Let me tell you how important roster spots are on the MLB team. Willie Harris on the 2005 White Sox, what'd he come in? Get a stolen base for the White Sox. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
At least he had something he did which was elite, which was his speed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same thing with Robert for the Red Sox. The reason the Red Sox came back in 2004, the guy got on base, he stole bases for him. He had the elite ability to steal bases. Chase Mydroff does absolutely fucking nothing elite on a baseball field besides look at fucking pitches and know the strike zone. It's not gonna help you. It's not.
If you ain't got no pop.
Yeah,
if you ain't got no pop, what's it gonna do?
It's been dropping steadily because he's not a threat. He's not. So they're not gonna walk him. Why would they walk somebody who's not a threat with the bat? Why? Come on, bro. This is common sense. It's not hard.
Yeah. Yeah, people get on. People been wanting to get on you for that Chase Mydroff take for a long time, but it's actually it's spot on in my opinion. You know what I mean? I look at guys all the time. Something I want to get to, man, and I just want to get your take on it. Like I asked Ray, Ray the barber, handles Ray's juke joint. Yeah, ball CPU. Yeah, I asked him last week, right? I was talking to him, and I asked him last week, like, with the Cubs, right? In my opinion, I believe that the Cubs' morale was disrupted. And what I mean by that is, okay, when the trade deadline comes, right, and you're in this, you're this team that had this great run at the beginning of the season all the way through to the All-Star break. Now we coming upon the trade deadline, and everybody starts making moves, and it's like, okay, we buyers, we do this, that, and the third. At the time, we 6 games up in the division over the Brewers. You know what I'm saying? So, you thinking about that, and it's like, okay, they're gonna bring somebody in, and I was a firm believer, like, okay, they're gonna bring in a great arm that you need, right? I wanted them to either get one or two guys. One was Sandy Alcantara from Contra or whatever from Miami, or else Edward Cabrera, right? I wanted one of those arms because I feel like we've had so much injury in our rotation that we was able to get by. I mean, we haven't had Justin Steele the whole year. Shota been hurt for a long time. Jameson been in and out. You know what I'm saying? The only one that's been there consistently is Matthew Boyd, and he's pitched really well. You know what I mean? He had a good game yesterday. He gave up 5 runs, but it was like the 5 runs he gave up, it wasn't like he pitched bad. He pitched really well that whole game. But, sometimes that happens in baseball. You know what I'm saying? And you just look at it, and it's like, okay, I thought they would do that. I thought they would bring in maybe a bat if they wanted to. You know what I mean? Something like that. Because at the time, Matt Shaw was struggling a little bit. He's picked it up, tremendously in the second half. Been the only one producing, really.
About to make money off that.
About to make money off that. Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
I like that. So I'm thinking, okay, when they go out and they make their trades and they bring in a less than, I would say, the arm that they brought in was less than, it wasn't what I was looking for. Soroka was not what I was looking for. So you bring him in, that didn't move the needle for me, right? And I'm sitting here as a fan looking at it like, okay, what the heck does that do? And then you bring in Willie Castro. Now, Willie Castro is a good player, but he is a utility guy. And I said that at the beginning. And it was like, I got into it with some people, and it was like, no, Willie Castro is going to take over at third base. And I'm like, no, it's going to be Matt Shaw there. Willie Castro is a utility guy, because I listened to what Craig Counsell said probably a week before that trade deadline. He said that there were no Jed Hoyer and Craig Counsell both said it. They were going to be active, right? And he said Craig Counsell's words out of his mouth was, we don't have a utility guy. Because we got Justin Turner, but I mean, come on, Justin Turner's 40 years old. What's he going to do out there?
Old man.
Old man. He's there for he's there to kind of be a voice for the younger guys in the locker room. So do you think the morale was disrupted when you bring in Willie Castro and you say, okay, this is our trade deadline move? This is what we're going to do to get over the hump. Did anybody in that locker room look around at like Kyle Tucker or Suzuki or Armstrong, or Michael Bush, and look around and say, okay, that's what we needed to get over the top?
Well, I don't think a Castro or Soroka is something that can get you over the top or get you over the hump. You know what I mean? So I think,
and the players know that.
Yeah, the players know that as well. And when baseball, man, is hard. You could think that you had this huge window of opportunity, and it could close real fast. I mean, look at the White Sox in 2020, and then 2021, at 2022, it was over. That shit had went all downhill. So that window of opportunity can close fast. So I think when you have an opportunity, you should make the most of it. But I think Jed Hoyer, he's not really that aggressive type of general manager. You know what I mean? I don't think that's his thing to give up capital like that. And I don't think he wanted to give up any of you guys top prospects. You know what I mean? And I don't know who told you Castro or whoever said Castro would take over for Matt Shaw, but that makes no sense. And I'll explain why real quick. Matt Shaw is young. He's athletic. He's over there at third base playing good defense. He has excellent range at third base because of his athleticism. You're talking about a guy that was originally a shortstop. I think his bat will come around. How much? I don't know. But I think he's a very solid player at third base. So why would you put Castro over Shaw? That makes no sense whatsoever. At the end of the day, you still got to continue to develop this young player, Matt Shaw, who was considered a very highly touted prospect. I don't understand that thought process.
Yeah. And that's my thing. I thought, okay, if you say they bring in Geno Suarez, okay, I could see them putting Matt Shaw and letting him kind of play spot duty for different, you know what I mean, when guys need rest or something. Because Geno gonna hit home runs. That's power over there, right? So yeah, it's like, okay, but when you bring in Willie Castro, I was like, okay, all that is a utility guy. That's what he said a week ago. He said we want a utility guy. And what they did, in my opinion, what the Cubs did, and I don't like it because I think it's like making the fans, you know what I mean? Like you play with the emotions of the fan base, because the fan base is bought in. But they bought in. It's like, okay, we see a little window of opportunity here. We got, we lead in the league. We had the best record in baseball for for a little while. Yeah. We up there. And it's like, okay, we got a 6-game lead. Let's run away with the division at this point. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now Milwaukee got super hot. The Cubs didn't play terrible because they played around 500 baseball after the All-Star break.
Milwaukee won, 12 in a row? 13? Something?
Yeah, 14, I think it was, 14, right? 14? Yeah, 14 straight. And that wasn't the only one. They did 2 like deep runs like that. I think one was like 12 and one was 14 or something. So it's like when you have a team that can get super hot like that, chasing you, you can't push all the chips to the table. And what they did was they played scary. You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Yeah.
And to me, and I said this, when they went out and they got Castro, they got Soroka, I was like, okay, the players in the locker room look at that and they're like, they don't think they can win this year with us. You know what I mean? If you're Kyle Tucker, if you're somebody in that locker room, you bring in Willie Castro and you bring in, I'm looking like, okay, you saying that, hey, just hope we stay hot. That's what this is. You know what I mean? Because you're not really trying to win, in my opinion. Unless you and it just made sense. Even if they went and got Sandy, right? Sandy been up and down this year or whatever. But at the end of the day, Sandy, you got control over his contract. He's only 29 years old. And I think he's going to bounce back fine. So it's like you could have him for years going forward if you had traded for him. Now, they didn't want to give away Owen Casey, I'm sure, because they don't know what's going to happen with Kyle Tucker in the offseason. So I think that probably, pumped the brakes on some of what they wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you got to, like I say, a lot of times GM is weighing short-term success versus long-term success. And sometimes they don't want to give up the capital for the short-term success, And in the Cubs case, y'all have 2 to 3, very good prospects. And I'm pretty sure he didn't want to really shed, or get rid of those guys, you know what I mean? Especially like you say, when he don't know what's really going on with Kyle Tucker. And then, some of the other young guys is still kind of, developing is kind of what they really going to be. So it's kind of like, do I want to give all this up for a 1 year flash in the pans maybe, or do I want some sustainability? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's for a GM, that's a difficult choice. For a fan like us, that's not a difficult choice. Because to us, you only get so many opportunities, so we want to see you go for it all.
I mean, y'all know that, man. Your window was wide open at one point, right?
Yeah.
And it closed in a matter of, what, a year and a half? It was closed up?
Yeah, we had the COVID year, and then we had the year after that, and then after that it was done. But even then, I was screaming that people got to stop with this window of
opportunity
or this, because Eloy was getting injured all the time, and he was kind of goofy to me. Yohan Moncada, everybody knew this guy was a lazy bum. I don't even know. That show you the sports media, it'd be sometimes full of bullshit, because I don't even know how it wasn't reported that he was a lazy bum. Comes out that they so-called key signing then, Grandal was a damn bum. He was a catcher who couldn't catch. Imagine that. And he was lazy. So, I mean, what you expect? Like, the culture in the locker room was all messed up. And then you got, unfortunately, my boy T.A., he was going through his personal issues. I won't get into that, but he was being ridiculed in the locker room because he was the only one really was trying to put in some work. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's what you had. You had a whole messed up situation going on over there. And that's the thing. That the difference between the Cubs players, and this is what I will say about PCA and Matt Shaw, those guys play, as I like to say, with their hair on fire. They dogs. You know what I mean? So I think you guys have a different situation, because at least your younger players and your top prospects, at least they love the game of baseball, as opposed to in 2020 and 2021, the White Sox top prospects are guys who were supposed to be the guys on the team. They didn't love the damn game of baseball. You know what I mean? So that's a different story right there.
Yeah. And you talk about it. Let's talk about Matt Shaw real quick, man. I know we got we coming up on 50 minutes. I got a couple things I want to get to real quick. Matt Shaw, since the All-Star break, whatever, I've seen some numbers from him. He's, right at a band for, you know what I mean? He's, I think he was batting like, 298 as of yesterday. I don't know what it is today, if it went up or down. Just in that small span, not overall for the whole season, but from July 15th or so all the way until now, he's batting 298. 9 home runs, 18, 19 RBI, something like that. So he's producing at a high level at this point in time. Is that sustainable for him, you think?
The 298, the batting average, I don't think that's sustainable. I think that'll come down. I think with Matt Shaw, what I look at with him is his OPS, not so much his batting average. His OPS the last 30 games has been like an 870. I think a 830, 820 OPS for Matt Shaw is sustainable, and that's good for the Cubs. It's good for your favorite team. You know what I mean? What Matt Shaw provides is very solid defense over there, very good range at third base, and he's showing his power potential. And I think if his OPS can be above 800, I think that's all you can ask for from Matt Shaw. I'm not really looking at Matt Shaw batting average. And this is from a guy who loves batting average. I mean, I love Tony Gwynn. I love, all the old school guys, Frank Thomas, so on and so on, who had 300 averages. But in today's game, I'm more looking at OPS. And I like what Matt Shaw offers as far as OPS wise, because I think he can be a guy that hits 240, 250 and have a 800 plus OPS. And I think that's solid enough in today's game.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's the type of player he is, right? So, I get in conversations with people all the time about Matt Shaw. And one of the things that I always say about Matt Shaw is that the things that he does for this, the things that he can do, right? The potential is there. And what I mean by that is, to me, he's a 20 to 25 home run if he plays the whole season. 25 stolen bases. He's athletic enough to get 25 stolen bases. He's going to play great defense at third base. And I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. Even with his struggles, when he was going through all the struggles this year at the beginning of the year, I'm fine with it because he was outstanding at third base playing defense. And everybody else on the team was playing so well that I was like, we didn't really need – it's not like he was hindering the team at that point in time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at baseball players, because in baseball your mental mean a lot. So to me, this kid struggled. He was the hot prospect, supposed to start off hot. All the Cubs fans, on this side at that time, hey, this is the guy. He doesn't. He gets sent down. He come backs up. He have a 10-game stretch where he plays very well. And then he doesn't play well again, but he still kept at it. Like, he didn't dig himself a deeper hole by just, basically quitting or giving up. He kept at it. And to me, that shows a lot in a player. And like I said, when I watched him in PCA, you could tell those guys at least love the game of baseball. So to me, that goes a long way. And I think he's going to be a very solid player. It's one reason why at the time Chase Maedroff was having his best stretch of baseball yet and still was barely slugging over 400, but whatever. And I was telling Jay at the time, I think his on-base percentage was like at 380, Chase Maedroff. And he's like, it's going to blow Matt Shaw away. I'm like, no, it's not. He don't slug enough, and you will see at the end of the season, and look what's happened.
It didn't take long. It took a month for him to catch up and surpass.
It didn't take long at all. It took 10 days. It took 10 days. 10 days. But, that's what I was trying to tell Jay is he can hit, man. You know what I mean? He can slug, I should say. So
he can.
Let him slug.
I think he'll be a good player. He'll be a player for the Cubs for a little while, man. It'll be nice to see him. And it's a rookie, man. So you're gonna have some ups and downs, for the most part. But he's a rookie. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Now, to get into this last portion real quick, man, before we get up out of here, I want you see the banner down there, right? What does it say? Mactober. Man, tell us what Mactober is about and tell us why it came about. Well, tell us what it's about, number one, right? Because I guess we in Mactober right now. Tell us what Mactober is about. Well, and tell us what you're doing to Candyland. Explain to the people what Candyland is, please.
Candyland is Big CPU is Eric. He's on the Ray's juke joint. And then you got Ball CPU, which is Ray. And then you got little CPU, which is Caleb, Turd Boy. And then you got the long lost son who's always looking for approval, Duke. You know what I mean? That's Candyland over there. You know what I mean? They love their baseball savants and their roto baseball and all them fucking subscriptions, and yet they didn't know that fucking they didn't know that fucking Coastal Montgomery had power. It's fucking amazing, bro. I just whatever. I don't understand. But yeah. But Mactober started with Jay Tigerian basically. And
shout
I
out to
made
Jay.
a couple of trades. As a matter of fact, a trade with you for Bobby Witt. I made a couple of trades, got on a hot streak in fantasy baseball, made the playoffs, and Jay started Mactober. And then this year just carried over. I continue to kill in October. As a matter of fact, I just put belt to ass to ball CPU. I just totally fucking destroyed him. It wasn't even fucking close. You know what I mean? And this from a man who told me at the beginning of the season, oh, your team, it didn't improve, it didn't do this, blah, 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 blah. Every year he say the same thing. I'm not lying. Every year he say the same thing, that my team is this and that, and every year I wind up being where I be at, But this year, we going to win the championship, because it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that ring.
That's it. I like that. And there's a lot of people in the league that have not won the championship, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the league that ain't won the championship, and a lot of those people are the ones that be talking the most stuff, which is ironic because it's like, okay, how can you talk if you ain't really won?
Yeah, that's true. And in Duke's case, you got outed by your father who said you needed all this help in the world. But yeah, you study talking smack, he leaked your messages and all that. And yeah, you still be crying, oh daddy, show me attention, daddy. Because you want a pat on the head. It's really sad though. It's sad stuff sometimes over there with Duke. And if Duke is on your side of the argument, you should reconsider your argument, because if he on your side, it's terrible.
Maybe I'm wrong. If he agrees with what I say, I need to reconsider, because I'm probably wrong at that point in time. I'm out of pocket.
It's an old school song. It's like, I'd rather be wrong than right. If Duke on my side, I'd rather be wrong than right. Then you know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie.
That's a trip right there. I love it, man. It's fun getting in this little conversation, man. A little bit of banter, man. I'm gonna let you. One of the first things that I was able to do, the first times I was able to kick it with you on the podcast, was on your show, and it was called The Smoke Room. So what I want to do right now is I want to give you an opportunity, right? Because you probably ain't did no smoke session, smoke room in a minute, right?
Yeah.
You came on here, you showed me love by coming on this Cub podcast. I appreciate that for sure, right? You a G for that. You always, you know how we do, man. You one of the guys, right?
Pretty much love.
I appreciate that. But I want to give you the opportunity. Go ahead and get some smoke off your chest if you want to. It could be about whatever you want. It could be about the Cubs. It could be about whatever. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, my smoke gonna go out to all the people who got on this guy Saxonate, man, because it's absolutely ridiculous. We know how the Twitter world can go. What's popular, a lot of people will go along with that. And Saxonate, he happened to be right about the Luis Roberts situation, as far as Luis Roberts staying and they gonna pick up his option. And he was right also about Coastal Montgomery, when a lot of other people were wrong and giving up on this kid. So I want to give out smoke to all the people that gave this guy a problem, because you have to be man enough to admit when somebody is right and you were wrong. So Asinine, stop arguing, stop being sassy, just give a man his credit. Stop trying to do all your little irritating stuff you try to do to people to get up under their skin, because he absolutely put belt to ass this year with his baseball knowledge as far as with the White Sox. It's that simple. And I'm going to be honest, Eric, who, by the way, need to learn what the term boy means when you say that to brothers, because I'm still on your ass. I ain't forgot. Trust me. I'm gonna keep my promise too. But to go on with that, he was simply right, and you were simply wrong. I don't care how many analytic or stats you done looked up, or VPA, APA, ABC, BPA, none of that. It doesn't matter. What matters is that boy had power since he was in high school. And for you not to know that, and for you to call yourself a baseball guy, is absolutely gross. It makes me want to throw up. It's sad. I'm gonna be honest, because this wasn't even that hard. This was a layup. A layup. You was in a layup line, and yet you still couldn't make the layup. That shit's sad, bro. But that's what you got smoke for.
That's it, man. That's it. I appreciate it, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I had to let you get that off because that was one of the first things. That was one of the first times me and you talked on the podcast. You let me come on, and I gave you smoke about your White Sox that time. So I just wanted to, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it will too. It will too, for sure.
He gave me smoke by my socks. Yeah.
He did. We both did that day. But it was fun, man. It's always fun chopping it up with you, man. You a dude that knows baseball. I lean on you when it comes to some knowledge when it comes to baseball. That's why I wanted to have this talk about the hitting, man, because I think that's been the biggest hurdle for the Cubs this year, right? Hopefully they right it wrong, man. What do you have? Just give me a prediction. What do you have? What do you predict with the Cubs? Do they make a wild card? Are they able to chase down the Brewers? Do they go far in the playoffs if they make it? What you think?
Nah, it's over for the Cubs as far as chasing down the Brewers. That's a wrap. I just think the Brewers, honestly, is a more talented team than the Cubs. I'm gonna keep it real. You know what I mean? And I think they're a more well-rounded team than the Cubs as well. I think the Cubs make the playoffs for sure. I definitely think they get a wild card spot. I can see them making it to the NLDS. I don't see them making a long playoff run though. I just think it's too many teams with, who has better pitching than the Cubs and more well-rounded hitting than the Cubs. Although, to be honest, the Cubs hitting is very impressive because as far as on base go, they like 6th in the league, and as far as OPS go, they're 9th in the league. So that's pretty legit, and you need OPS to win in today's baseball. So I give the Cubs credit. To me, sometimes the Cubs look defeated, and I'm one of those guys that don't like people being overly emotional when it comes to the game, as far as throwing helmets, bats, and looking defeated on the field.
Yeah. That's one of my complaints when it comes to the Cubs this year is the too much emotion can be a hindrance to you on the baseball field because you fail more often than you succeed in baseball. It's just the law of averages, bro. Ain't nobody batted 500. You know what I'm saying? So, everybody's below that. You know what I'm saying? So you actually failed more than you succeeded in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to accept that. You have to be able to put it off and move on to the next at bat or whatever the case.
My fault. I want to correct something. They actually 6th in slug, not OBP, and we know slug is important. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the Cubs. I think they have a good chance of making the playoffs. Of course, they will make the playoffs. I think they will. We'll see how it goes, man. I just it's funny because before last weekend, right? It was so topsy-turvy, ups and down. They was having terrible situations, and then they went and they won 3 games over the weekend, and they was 21 games above 500, the best record. They highest mark above 500 all year, and I'm like, for all of that, they still in this great position. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the team has enough to get a lot of things done. We'll see how it goes, though, man.
Yeah.
But once again, man, I appreciate you stopping through, man. We're going to get up out of here. This has been Let's Play 2. It's the Cubs podcast. We appreciate you guys for joining. Hopefully this, we be back at it next week. We'll be doing the same thing. I'll probably have some Cubs fans on next week, though. So we'll get to do that. But Mac, man, you always welcome to come back, man, and tell the boys at BGR I said, what's up, man? You guys are one of my favorite groups of people. You know what I mean? Y'all do it the right way. Y'all give real content. It ain't phony. It ain't falsified. It ain't sugar coated, and ain't nobody watering nothing down. So I appreciate that about y'all, man. Do keep doing that. Keep doing that stuff. And of course, Ray's Juke Joint. You know what I mean? We appreciate you guys for letting us have Let's Play 2 on. It's a White Sox stronghold, but you know we making inroads as the Cubs come to town. So we appreciate that. Until next time, man. Y'all take it easy. Take it easy, people. Y'all take it easy. Man, I appreciate you, man, stopping through. It's been good, bro. It was a good show.
It was a good show. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Had fun. It was dope. I like it. That thing should cut off in just a minute, though. For sure. Dang. I should have hit the end stream a long time ago. They was in there trying to, oh, dog, you got a draft coming up or something?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in the draft now. I don't even know if I remember my passcode. I gotta I don't even know.
How many teams y'all got in that draft? How many teams is
it? 12 teams, I believe, or teams.
Okay.
12 teams.
12 teams ain't bad. 12 teams ain't bad.
Isaiah is my manager, though. So, you know, he really running the squad. You know, he's my manager.